your website, your show, marketing your show.
Okay. But I want to do the hemp too. Hemp and Ike show.
We can go into hemp.
I got it.
Sweaty. 30 seconds.
That dropped into your hand.
Didn't you want one?
That's okay.
All quiet, please.
You can share. Pass that joint around.
Going to black, 20 seconds. Five.
Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole, and we're going to go into the topics very deeply on this show with Carl Pearson and Hurricane Ike, who is the producer of the Jacboxer show. So welcome, gentlemen, to the show. What I'm wanting to accomplish on this show is two things. I want to go into my passion for medical marijuana. The good news is cancer has a cure, and the bad news is that it's illegal. And I also want to use your expertise, Carl, as an innovative attorney and lawyer and problem solver to see what you think about marketing the Jacboxer show using some of the strategies that you've come up with that more meets the needs of the people and less of corporate media. So can we consider that? Let's talk about the medical marijuana first.
Okay.
I discovered that hemp oil, a la Rick Simpson, he's sort of the wonder person on the internet now. He had a head injury, and he was dealing... Oh, come on, Joe. Joe's got the...
Oh, thank you very
coffee for you here. Joe's so happy that we're going to be addressing this topic that's very close to his heart.
I think Joe has written his name on my cup.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Joe. That's Joe friendly.
You didn't tell me about
Truth
your
for a
hat.
change. Anyway, and I told Joe, I don't smoke marijuana, and I knew that it wasn't legal, and I knew that this is something Joe really wanted to share with me, and I said, you know what, Joe, the day it's legalized, I'm going to smoke it. And I was still kind of scared to smoke it because, I've had this background in meditation. I try to keep myself pure and clear and all of that. But in any case, once I discovered that Rick Simpson, also a straight guy up in Canada, had a head injury, and he went through all of the pharmaceutical solutions, all of the different doctors. They tried this drug, they tried that drug, that you would have learned how to dispense if you stayed in pharmacy school, if you didn't follow your intuition that this was not a way that was going to satisfy your soul. The doctors tried to help him. They couldn't. Ringing in his ears, a lot of pain. Finally, somebody gives him a joint. And he smokes it. And he said, my God, I feel better than anything I've ever been given. So he goes back to his doctors, and he says, it's legal in Canada to have a prescription. The doctors had given up on him. They said, we can't help you anymore. But they would not give him the prescription. He said, this is crazy. Why won't you give me a prescription? Well, it's bad for your lungs. We haven't studied it enough. He goes, 5,000 years and you haven't had enough time to study a plant? It's like the oldest medicinal plant in all of the civilizations. In Indian Ayurvedic, I'm sure. In African, culture, you're going to have the hemp plant. It's all over. It's the American Indians. It's here. How it ever got disconnected from the American people in 1937 is a whole other story. But Rick Simpson didn't know this at this point in the game. So he says to his doctor, well, if it's bad for your lungs, because smoke is bad for the lungs, that's what we've all been programmed to believe, what if I made it into an oil? And the doctor, being trained as a good doctor, had to agree as a scientist, well, yeah, it'll probably be more medicinal that way. But he still couldn't get it except illegally, so he got it. He knew how to do distilling. He probably, I haven't asked him, but my guess is because he had a nice position working in the hospitals, and he had access to distilling equipment. So he probably distilled it, reclaimed the solvent through the distillers, and then was left with the oil. He's since then modified the program that's all going all over the internet, where you just let the solvent go out and you blow it away, because it's very dangerous. If you have a spark or a match, you can blow yourself up. It's dangerous. He doesn't suggest that people do it. There's a disclaimer on it. But on the other hand, if you're faced with terminal cancer, you would get the ventilating devices and you would exert yourself to get the oil that you need to heal you. So when the authorities came down, and they came down hard because he had the Veterans Association make a formal presentation, because he was a son of a veteran. And they didn't like that. They came down for no reason. They disbanded, and it wasn't happening. But they knew by this point, after curing himself, he started handing out the oil to everyone else for free. And he was quite the toast of the town, because he's helping people. And terminal cases, people who have 24 hours to live, they're turning on a dime. So he's the man to know. So the judge, when they finally brought him to court and didn't allow any of his 10 patients to present their cases, nor allow the doctors to vouch that these were terminal patients and they turned on a dime, the judge didn't tell him to stop healing people. He knew, because Rick said, look, my people don't have the luxury of your laws. Who knows how long it's going to take to change this. And so the judge sort of looked the other way, but in the end they had to pass judgment against him. He's not allowed to come into this country. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that and see if we can come up with your solution, and then move on to how we can promote the Jacboxer show, because anything that's good for the Jacboxer show is going to be good for any of us public access producers.
Let's start off with the SEC.
SEC?
Oh.
Really? Securities Exchange?
Well, I'm innovative, right?
Okay, great. Great.
So what do you think I'm thinking about when I say let's start off with the SEC?
Stock in the company that's going to bring this to people?
No.
No.
How much faith do you have in rules and regulations that have been promulgated and enforced by the SEC recently?
Not much.
Not much. Is that an opening?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Right.
Now let's jump to the other agency, the FDA. We're talking about the FDA now.
Right.
My feeling is that if you could get 20 or 30 town attorney generals, or get 20 or 30 towns to appoint an attorney to bring a lawsuit, and have see another frame of reference is that there's an organization of state attorneys general, and they will talk among themselves by email or a website, and they'll say, hey, we can make a lot of money suing on the cigarettes issue. So they have 40 states that then went together against the tobacco companies and brought suit, and they got a pile of maybe $10 billion or something like that. So the state attorneys general, when they wanted to, could get together and bring one lawsuit. So why don't we have towns and villages that we can encourage for their people to join in a lawsuit where 20, 30, 40 different towns and villages in a single lawsuit demand that the FDA rules and regulations be held invalid because they're more like the SEC. They haven't really done what their job was, and that if you have enough people, enough towns and villages doing that, you have a better chance at the court looking at that and saying maybe we should do something about it. If you have just one individual and you have a prosecutor coming after him, the person being prosecuted doesn't have much of a chance. But if you structure it as a civil lawsuit attacking a governmental regulation, where we know that government now doesn't really regulate that well, you have an opening a little bit more than you had a year ago. And maybe if you have enough towns and villages joining in a single lawsuit demanding under certain restraints that people who are terminally ill who have a doctor and you have state law permitting it. See, because that's the rub that's happened here. We've had various state laws that have been passed where the doctors are free to give a prescription for the drug, but the feds come in and prevent it.
Right.
So here you have maybe an issue of unlawful interference with the state laws. And I'm sure that that's been raised already, so maybe it isn't such a good issue any longer.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that if you can get a bunch of towns and villages together, and if you challenge the FDA, because it may be that there has been total disregard, and maybe there's been a push by the drug companies to keep everything within their purview. Maybe that's part of it.
I wanted to say something on that line. There was something that happened in Africa a couple of years ago when Pfizer went down to Africa using their medication to experiment if it works or if it doesn't work.
Gee.
And it happens that a lot of people end up losing their lives in Africa.
Right.
Nigeria end up suing Pfizer.
Yeah.
From there, now they're suing an American company, right?
Right.
That may be why Pfizer's up for sale now. There's a rumor in the press today or yesterday that Pfizer is offering itself for sale. I don't know if it's true or not. But
to get out of the litigation that they owe Nigeria?
There can be massive litigation, and this is one of the reasons that it is important to have some regulation over this, because if you don't, you'll have a lot of people getting sick. So there's a reason for the regulation.
Right.
But there's also those that regulate shouldn't have the right to bar reasonable things, and if there hasn't been really a review and a careful study of both sides of it, if it's just one-sided that we're not going to do it unless the big drug companies push it, maybe that's the angle here, that they're only responding to the big drug companies the same way the SEC responded to the needs of the big investment banking firms. Maybe that's the angle here.
Do you think there's really a cure for AIDS right now?
I would think that there's no reason why there couldn't be. I'm not technically equipped to judge that, but I would suspect that any disease has a cure, I would hope. I don't know, though.
I mean, this is a big interest of mine. And people who became AIDS activists rethinking AIDS. HIV has never been isolated. There's never been a certificate of purified sample. There's more mischief caused through the medicine. But that's such a different topic. I want to get on to marketing your website. You know, and I'll do a show with you on that one for sure. But I'm just thinking, these 20,000 town attorney generals, I know of all the 4 things that you're offering a mayor to make you town attorney general, the one you're most excited about is MyClads, which is the tasks. And you need about $25,000 to go out and counsel everybody in the area so they can share their skills, their tasks.
Right.
But in the case of advertising for his show, I have a feeling you can tie that in.
Okay, what I was going to do is try to analyze your show and what I would do if I were you. But I don't have as much knowledge about your show in the marketplace, so some of the things that I'm saying probably are not worthwhile. The first thing I would do to market a show like yours is to capture the email addresses of everyone that you can that might be interested in your show. So push a website where they come in and sign up, so that and not where they have to talk with you, but where they just sign up on a database and you can capture their email address, and that you can build you can have a weekly newsletter directed to them explaining the different things, asking what they would like to hear. Would you be a guest? Can you recommend a guest? But have a dialogue in that fashion. So you need a website that's interactive, and I suspect that you probably could use a website that is known as a content management system website like Drupal, where you could have a blog and you could write things and people could respond, and you would have a feed where when somebody puts a blog on your website, anyone that responds to it would get that answer by email, and try to develop a multimedia approach to what you're doing, because just one media alone is hard. Paula has a way of taking her show and using it across different media, and you must try something like that.
He is also on YouTube, so he can do that. And then there's MySpace. I've never done MySpace.
I have a MySpace address. I already have
you're
my
ahead
own.
of me on that one.
Yeah, and I have my own website also where people can register. I do a lot of things with the. I also write for a couple of websites when it comes to boxing.
Another idea: identify each of the places where people train, and put up posters and give free advertising, or mention them and in your newsletter, so that you could direct people to them, they can direct people to you. Have a community try to identify who your community is and how you reach these people, and use email. Email is critical. Use your show. Use people, volunteers, to go out there and make some phone calls. It's a multimedia problem that you have to address here. It's across the board in a variety of ways. Right. And you're doing a lot of it already, which is what I said. I don't have knowledge of everything that you know, but I would approach it from as many different ways as you can.
He has champions and stars that come on his show, and those people attract a lot of attention. They inspire people. People like to look.
Feature in your newsletter who they are, what they've done, and always build up everything, because a lot of people reading your newsletter, for example, may not know who these persons are. You assume they know, but you want to bring more and more people in. And you've got, what do they call those places where people train? The gyms.
The boxing gyms.
The boxing gyms, okay. That would seem to be a place, and have a regular source of information of every kind
of a gossip column for boxing.
On your website, have various things. One of them would be every prize that's available in a boxing gym, so that you're like a directory that people turn to. That you can identify every single boxing gym, you can identify every amount that people could work for. You can let people advertise the fact that they train people, have ads there, even if they're for free, make it appear like there's ads. Others will then start asking, can they pay you? So just have a full-service website in your industry. Carve out more than you think you have. Try to carve out a larger picture.
Do you have web skills?
Well,
because I don't.
That's one of the things that I haven't gotten to do. I'm a jack of all trade, but I never got a chance to learn the HTML language. But my website is called Jacboxer.com. That's Jacboxer for those that want to check it out. On that website, the guy that designed it in such a way that you don't really need to know HTML to update the website.
So it's a content management system. You update it yourself.
Yes, I can update it.
It may be Drupal or WordPress or something like that.
I really wish M&N would offer those, because I had people help me, and I'm terrified to go in there and experiment, because then the whole thing falls apart, and then if I can't find them to fix it again, it's like you were threatening your son. We're going to call John Kowalski. so he just knows that John Kowalski's out there, that if anything screws up, you can always call him, but he's motivated to do, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like my brother gave me $1,000 so I could knock down a wall, and there was somebody next door that would have done it for $1,000. So I started hammering away, and pretty soon I did it all myself, because I could use the $1,000 for something else, but I had the knowledge that I could go next door if I'm in a bind. And that's what I think people get stumped on the website. They're terrified.
Let every boxer or potential boxer have a sub-page on your website where you can allow them the opportunity of having a website. These people are less apt to have a website than other people. Those in need that are working their way up probably don't know enough about it. Try to facilitate giving them a website with their own name, and making it easy. A content management system could be designed very inexpensively, and once again, I'm talking about my son and other people like that work with Drupal. Yours could be a Drupal, or it might be Joomla, I don't know what the name is. But that's useful because you know how to update it even though you don't write HTML. I happen to be pretty good at HTML, and I'm working at other languages, but Drupal means you don't have to do that. You just, when you get into your website, you click on the control panel, and then if you want to edit a page or you want to edit a story, do you have a page and story difference?
I have video. I can upload video in there.
Right.
I can upload pictures. I can upload text.
So learn how to let others come in and ask others for their picture and stuff like that, so that people can find out more about your industry from your website, where you are always providing more information. And that will bring more and more people into your website and will stop them from looking at Google as a source of information in your area. Let you be the source. And more people are doing that. They're creating websites that carve out, so you don't have to go to Google and say, I want all boxers, New York City, because you get a lot of stuff. You got people that make boxes. I'm not looking for people that make boxes, right?
Well, thank God I've interviewed everybody in the boxing industry, from Don King to Holyfield to Tyson, and I'm actually working on a book right now, consists of all these interviews I did with everybody in the boxing industry.
Go into court and get copies of agreements that were in litigation and put them on your website. Find information that people would like.
What does that mean now?
Well, people litigate over their agreements with Don King and others. Get copies of the court files.
Well, I don't understand.
Well, Don King is...
sometimes they have a lawsuit against him. He can go in the court. It's a public document.
Right.
You can pull that information, what is really going on.
Right.
And
be an investigative reporter. Do the work.
But make it available on your website.
Make it available on the website where people can see exactly what's going on.
So it's like one-stop shopping.
Also, you can find out through Pacer. Anytime a person like Don King or Don King Enterprises is sued federally, in federal court, it's national. You can do one search and you wind up with every case in which Don King or some other person that you're interested in following. So you can become like the gossip column for the industry by merely just following federal litigation. That's half of it. The other half is state, and it's too hard to follow.
Well, can I tell them how they can find me?
Yeah.
Other people at home watching this show right now, they want to find out. Jacboxer, they can find us at Jacboxer Show at yahoo.com. That's our email.
Jacboxer Show at yahoo.com.
And we also have the website jacboxer.com. Then myspace.com/Jacboxer.
How did you get the name Jacboxer? Because your name isn't Jack.
You know what I always tell people? That's $1 million question.
I mean, it's a great name.
It's got
rhythm.
$1 million in my hand before I can give it to you. So, but it's interesting. I'll give you a little hint. Actually, when I went to
Africa,
hint
before you get your million?
Yeah, I'll give you maybe a quarter information. When I went to Africa, they used to, like I was telling you on my show, at first when I went there, for the fact that I didn't know the language, when you step into a place where you just came in the first time, you lift one of your legs and watch what's going on before you put down the other leg. So it took me a little time to learn the language. And it took me time to stand up to some of my mates and say, if you want to fight, we're going to fight. So they try to intimidate me.
There's just like you went back to Africa when you were only 7 years old?
When I was 7 years old.
You didn't start fighting at 7.
No, I'm talking about street fights. Street fights, street fights.
Yeah.
So basically, it was a great experience going down to...
It's funny how men work things out.
Really, honestly. So what I was trying to get to is that being in Africa and being here, it taught me a lot of, gave me a different perspective of life.
Got another idea. Contact the gyms and tell them that you want to bring in volunteers to help that will work in the gym as apprentices, and then seek to line up people that are interested in apprenticeships for a gym where they can get experience or know the business and stuff like that. Have a variety of things that are useful, and people will go to your website, they'll listen to your show.
And I take people to the fights too. So there's a boxing match going in.
Just a second.
Get freebies.
You're pulling a Harold Channer on me. I want the $1 million question.
She wanted help on that. She wanted to put on.
How did the Jacboxer show get that?
So when I went to Africa, I was trying to let you know. So I came, they came up with a name. They used to call me Jacula, Jacular. That's my production company now, Jacula. And actually, the way I came up with that name, it was so funny. I was 7, 8. Imagine that. There was a guy, my father is a professor in a school in Nigeria called the Institute of Management and Technology in Enugu.
Now, that's where you got your science ability, right?
Yeah, so I'm in there, and there was a student that used to be a very good artist, So I used to be amazed by his artistic abilities, So I just came up as a kid. I said, oh, he looks like Jacula. I don't know where this Jacula came from. I just came up with the name.
Really?
I don't even know the spelling.
Sounds like Dracula.
Yeah, Jacula. I said, this guy looks like a Jacula. I don't know what it means.
Really?
Nothing. So
you just made your own language.
I just made it up. Yeah, I just made it up, Jacula.
Wow.
And then I started asking my older cousins, how do you spell it? How do you spell it? So we play with the words until we were able to come up with Jacular, Jacula. So everybody in the town, now when that guy graduated from college, I said, I can't find this guy no more. I'm taking the name back to myself. So I end up being the one that is called Jacula.
Wow.
So everybody around the town, Jacula. So if I had to go to Nigeria right now, most people might know me as Jacula more than they know me as Ike.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying? So
and then Hurricane Ike was your name in the ring
Hurricane Ike
here?
came, after, we found out that Hurricane Ike can be dangerous too.
Oh, it was an actual Hurricane Ike?
Yeah, the real
What year was
Yeah.
that Hurricane Ike hit?
I actually adopted the name last year.
Uh-huh. I
Before
thought it
that-
was when you were in the boxing ring.
No. That came after my boxing is over.
What did they call you in the ring then?
Jacboxer.
Jacboxer. Oh.
So now what we did was we took JAC out of Jacula
Yeah.
and add Boxer to it.
No, that's great.
So now if you go on the internet and you type Jacboxer, Jacboxer, all over the world, this is the only Jacboxer.
Right.
You can't find it nowhere else.
Yeah.
Right. Google hasn't messed that up
But
yet.
well, by eliminating the K, you became unique.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was no K.
Right.
So that's how I got the
I can't
Jacboxer.
believe it, gentlemen. Once again, we have 2 minutes left.
Well, when you're having fun, you don't know when the time passes quick.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I told you we're going to dig this hole deeper and deeper
Really?
and deeper.
Really?
We're going deeper and deeper.
Well, I just have a feeling that the energy of personalities like Hurricane Ike here added to the thinking that you have about our economic woes, because it's got to be fun. You've got to line up with some fun people. And I know you had an act to be Attorney General.
I don't want to cut you off. I just want to slip this in if you don't mind.
Please.
I had sent you an email. My friend Winky writes.
Yeah.
The
breast cancer
The breast
stuff.
cancer thing.
Right.
The reason why I want to talk about it is because my
Except I'm against it.
I know, you told me.
I know.
I just wanted
And
to bring
I
it up
got
because
some letters with lawyers. I should have been talking to doctors, Carl. I'm talking to lawyers. Why are lawyers answering my medical questions? But anyhow,
you know why
as soon as I
picked
see that
interest?
pink ribbon,
Yeah, you say, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm interested in it is not because I love women so much. It's not just
Well, I'm
that. I
sure.
love women. But the reason is...
And you want the breast in order.
I want the breast to be intact. I don't want implants. I don't want no implants. I want the original. It's
Why
like I
don't
said.
you have a section on your website with breast?
Ever thinking of the marketing? I love it.
So
Wow.
anyway, my biological mother died from breast cancer when I was a few months old.
sorry.
And I never really got to see her, know what she
sorry.
looked like. It was somebody else that actually raised me till I was 7, and then I went to Africa. So I have an interest in it in terms of...
No,
maybe-
I'll meet the people. It's just, we have to be ready to roll up our sleeves and look at the evidence. That's all.
I will hope that anything that is disturbing somebody or stopping somebody from being happy tomorrow, we should, if you can help. That's why I thought that doing promotion is much better for me than being a cop, arrest you because I saw some herb in your hand.
Oh, yeah.
What do we do about Madoff? He was happy grabbing that money. Should we help him?
Hey, let's keep the tapes rolling.
Let's keep it rolling. Let's go.
Let's go
Keep it
until the
rolling.
tape goes out.
Yeah, so Basically, I had interest because I want to see my daughter or my wife. If she comes across such a thing, I would hope that somebody comes in and help her.
You mean breast cancer?
Breast cancer.
Yeah, but the problem is that we don't know that the help really works unless it's been tried and done in a way that people aren't hurt. And China, for example, is doing things where they don't really test it. We have people taking shortcuts over there and affecting our lives over here.
But I want to form a foundation, and I want to hire you to help me and let me know this can help the foundation, this can help these ladies. I'm sure
I don't even think that all of us need foundations. We don't. A foundation. If you bring money in,
taxes all.
If you bring money in and donate, if you get money coming in and you spend it, you don't have a tax problem. And if the people aren't seeking a tax deduction, you don't need a foundation. You just need to have a source of income and just spend it doing what you're doing. The problem with a foundation is that it unduly complicates your life. That you think that what you want to do in life is going to be facilitated if only you could set up a foundation, and if only you could raise $5,000, pay a lawyer, 50C13, all of this stuff. You don't need that. Just do the right thing, and you don't need to have the barrier of setting up a foundation.
See, what he's saying is if as much money you take in goes out, then you're okay. It's when I set mine up as part of to pay less taxes, and it was supposed to go to an offshore company in Denmark, and I was living in Cyprus, and as soon as it was set up, I had this psychic rush. I just felt good. I said, you know what? Let's just leave it there. I want to have a real charity. Oh, man. And then my attorneys split. They didn't want a real charity because then it's liability, I guess, because then you're actually doing things. But that's that. And then in order to make it a public charity, because I set it up and couldn't take donations, but it turns out you can take up to $700,000, which is...
I just see the likelihood that you or me raising $700,000 to do something is not as realistic as just doing what you're doing and letting people try to earn some money and do the right thing, and you'll find that you will go further than if you wait until something happens. Don't hold your life in reserve until that magic thing happens that allows everything to click, and then suddenly you're going to be the big man you want to be. You're a big man now. Go out and do the things that you want to do.
You really are.
And don't have a lot of artificial barriers that you set up, like a tax-free foundation. That's all nonsense, I think.
Yeah.
It's good for some people, but not for us.
No, he really means it. Yeah. You're a big person now because the public access, I know from walking around on the streets and things like that, people are watching, they are listening, they are attracted. If you exert yourself to find the right content, I know you're not going to have a phony baloney website. There's so many slick-looking websites, and they have no content in them. But if you have content, and we producers do, otherwise we wouldn't keep relentlessly doing this. People find out.
When I started out, believe it or not, with a website, I was the second lawyer in the country to have a website.
Really?
Yes,
because you jumped right on it.
I always am jumping on it, but I was dismayed
Did you know
that I was not number one.
Did you know it used to not be legal to advertise if you were a lawyer?
I think I heard that, yes.
Yeah, I brought the first suit in the country for the right to advertise as a lawyer. But I forget but with Internet, I checked to see how many lawyers were on Internet, and there was only one lawyer, a female, and her whole thing was a picture, her name. She had an East Side, New York City address. There was no other lawyer on Internet. Can you imagine that? And I was
reading.
I don't even know any longer. It was early, so I'm not sure. I could calculate because in my suit against Google, I actually have the history of the Internet because I wrote the whole thing down. I researched it very carefully.
Wow.
There were such things, search tools as Archie and Gopher and Veronica. Those were the tools that we used to search instead of Google. And
Archie,
Gopher, and Veronica were the different methods of search.
Do you remember that?
You don't. You would know. You would.
I can remember.
I remember.
Really? Okay, that's going way back. I just got online. I remember attending at a convention near 57th Street, and a person came out and said, "This is Mosaic." I saw Mosaic when it was just introduced, before it was used by anybody.
Mosaic mean like Moses?
Well, it was a browser.
Oh, it's called Mosaic?
The first browser, Mosaic.
Oh.
I saw the person said, we didn't know the word browser. I mean, I didn't know what that was, but Mosaic would allow you to access different things on internet. So right after that, I set up my website, and I determined I was the only lawyer in the country or in the world using the word lawyer or attorney to have a website. I had to decide, what am I going to do with it? And this is really the point that I wanted to make. At the very beginning, I read books and I read other things, and they said, give to the public and they will come back to you. Don't try to take from them, give to them, and you will develop a following. So I've always done that. I've created content.
Right.
I have over 100 websites now.
Right.
And I have content, and I am #1 in the world for prosecutorial abuse. I'm #1. I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I have written about it extensively.
Right.
I have people all over the world that cite me that because I have really developed forfeitures. I've developed fee and plea deals. I've developed the impropriety of the grand jury process and a lot of other things that the prosecutors do, the unfairness that we have. So I have 4 main websites, extensive websites. I'm #1 in the whole world when you search for prosecutorial abuse or prosecutorial misconduct. With misconduct, I'm #2. There's somebody else got in there, but I'm really right up there with 1 million hits, 1 million things that are listed. I'm #1 or 2. So I do that in a variety of fields, and I'm interested in these fields. Pet law, if you want to look up the law of pets relating to
leaving your inheritance to your cat?
No, not allowing a pet in your apartment. I'm #1 because I have a pet law website that people call up and they're getting evicted because they have a pet. So I had an experience and I wrote it. So I write what's of interest to me, and people find it. So I think that in your website, try to have content. Give to the people so people will come back. But a new development is a blog. Let people add to your website. Have a community. Have people be able to respond to a blog and say, well, that's just a bunch of crap. It isn't true that a person could do this or that. You know, just have a...
Yeah, they do that to me all the time.
I read something on your YouTube. Somebody said, oh, look at Paula with 3 black men.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But you know, that's Blasting Caps. Blasting Caps was busted at 19 years old for selling LSD to somebody, and he got in the system for 10 tough years. And so he needs a little extra attention. But he's very smart, and he was my first example of nonviolent communication techniques. He was so incredibly insulting on one posting that Molly and I did. He said, oh, just because your women are over the hill and stuff. So I sat down with Molly and I said, say, you know, what's it like? You treat men so badly because you're over the hill. And so Molly said, well, you know what, to tell you the truth, I treated men worse when I was younger. So what I did was I just went straight for the stress. And at first Molly was sort of surprised that I wanted to talk about these topics. Well, we were just talking. I just turned the cameras on, we're talking. I posted it, forgot about it. It's called Discussions of Sex and Spirituality, and it just started climbing in the search engines, and pretty soon I got a note from YouTube that they took it down for copyright infringement. I thought, copyright infringement? Really? It was such original material. It was original of original.
For God's sakes.
But they took it down, and I think the more paranoid part of me thinks it was doing so well that even by taking it out of the search engines for a month, it sort of lost that momentum. Because well, you see, somebody that told me about YouTube said that if you had an astrology website, there's 1 million of them. You're going to be on the millionth page of Google. But if you do a YouTube, because they were pushing YouTube, then one video will lift you up. So because videos were my passion anyway, I found that I've sort of found my place, and it worked that way. But anyhow, Blasting Caps is a very, very important viewer of mine. So I went and looked on his website and found that he's venting out, understandably, about the abuse that he went through. He showed his mugshots with his heavy metal music in the background of when he was 19, and it's very touching. that had to happen to someone, because he's so bright. And while he was in prison, he read so many books. And you know, they don't allow you to get an education in prison just exactly when you should. These guys have time on their hands. The smart ones can read. It's refreshing, because if I get him with Robert Ashford and binary economics, he's read. People don't read today.
Here's my idea now. You can have a free college in prison. You have enough people that are financially oriented and cover other skills. You have crooked lawyers, crooked doctors, crooked investment, crooked professors,
energy.
crooked this, crooked that. You have a whole university that would be willing to teach and not even have to be paid.
Yeah.
You could have one hell of a system here.
Oh, yeah. A lot of.
You could even shuffle teachers around.
Speaking of that, you were talking about the Maddox thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to say a few things, you two guys, on your thoughts?
Madoff.
Yeah, well, I was just saying, just thinking that that a lot of people invested with Madoff because they knew that they were getting higher returns than they could get elsewhere. It is axiomatic in my industry of finding wrongdoing that anywhere you have people making extraordinarily high returns, that they're doing it because there's no competition. There's no competition either because there's a patent or there's some wrongdoing that other people don't want to do. Like drugs, for example. You have a high rate of return in drugs because not everyone is willing to go into that. It's an illegal practice. So anytime you have excessive returns, you have to suspect that if they don't have a patent or if they don't have a monopoly, that what they have is illegality that's covered up somehow. So everyone that is smart enough, that invests a lot of money like that, are really shutting their eyes to what the illegality is. They don't want to hear. Don't tell me what's going on. I just want those returns. These people are now being asked for all the money back that they got from Madoff.